This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today, we're talking with Michael Wiesinger, Vice President of Commercialization and General Manager of the Transportation Sector at Kodiak Robotics. Michael, great to see you. Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jason.
So you had a great announcement come out here recently that I'm excited to talk to you about. Between you all and JB Hunt and Bridgestone, you have surpassed 50,000 autonomous long-haul trucking miles in a delivery collaboration. Now you're shipping Bridgestone passenger tires between South Carolina and Dallas. Give us an overview of the autonomous operation. What's the route like, and how does this operation work?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe I'll start with the history. How did this collaboration even start? Really, it was Bridgestone who was actually interested in doing a pilot with an autonomous truck. And they basically approached JB Hunt and saying, hey, I know, have a relationship with Kodiak. We would love to see our tires being hauled with an autonomous truck, learn from it, get some data, really be part of the revolution that's happening in the transportation sector. And so then we all worked together, the three companies, and said, which route would make sense from a piloting perspective, from starting those operations? And not only what makes sense today, but also what makes sense in the future. And if you think about autonomous trucks, the longer the lane, the more benefits autonomous trucks actually bring to the lane, right? And so we looked at their network and we said South Carolina to Texas actually a super interesting lane, right? It's like over 900 miles in total. Obviously, a human driver cannot do it in a day, right? You need either teams if you want to do it in an expedited service, or obviously it takes several days. And so we identified that lane from a volume perspective, from a distance perspective, and then we said, well, how do we operationalize it? And with JB Hunt, we actually said, okay, let's split it up into three parts of the lane. Basically, JB Hunt doing the first, if you want to call it that way, that's happening from South Carolina, bringing it to a Kodiak facility that we actually are operating at a pilot flying J in Villa Rica, just outside of Atlanta. And there, the JB Hunt driver brings the trailer and hands it over to a Kodiak truck. Then we have ground crew in that facility that inspects the truck, right? That makes sure everything looks all right, basically gets the autonomous truck ready for launch. And then we launch the autonomous truck there in the direction of Dallas. In Dallas, then, actually in Lancaster more specifically, that truck, quote unquote, lands. And basically there another handover happens to a human, to a local driver from JB Hunt. So in Lancaster, the JB Hunt driver then takes the trailer and delivers it to Roanoke, which is the final delivery destination. And then on the way back, so this is not a one-way route. On the way back, we actually take a different customer. So that's not Bridgestone, but a different customer to make sure we decrease deadhead and we don't drive any empty miles. So that's really how we have set up the operations. We are constantly evolving it, there are additional customers. They ask us to do more volume because so many people have gotten very, very excited about really a three-way collaboration between a shipper, a carrier, and an autonomous vehicle provider.
Yeah, you're bringing in all the components there. One quick follow-up there. So when you have the Kodiak truck and it's making the autonomous route, is there a safety driver present during that operation in the driver's seat?
Yes, today there's a safety driver present. The safety driver in there is really there to monitor what the system is doing, right? They're basically sitting there ready to take over control at any given point of time. But it's really the system does the vast majority of the driving is really handled by the system.
Okay, interesting. I want to dive into that a little bit too, because that's the Kodiak driver then, right? So you have this kind of the autonomous or virtual or system driver, the Kodiak driver, which is the software. What is necessary? What kind of equipment is necessary for that system to operate safely? And is this something that you see as being integrated into that, like the OEM manufacturing process? Are you aftermarket retrofitting this system in the trucks? What's the process there?
Yeah, let's start with the first question of what's actually necessary. So basically, you need a truck, a base truck. And in our case, this is a Kenworth T680. And then you need to say, okay, that truck, you want it to have redundant actuation. That means redundant braking, redundant steering, and redundant power. So what we do today, we actually work directly with tier ones to turn that truck from a stock truck into a redundant truck. And then after you have that redundant platform, you of course need your AV system. And the AV system includes compute, safety compute, or backup compute, if you will, as well as sensors. And so we actually put on what we call sensor pods. So we take off the stock mirror, and sensor pods have cameras, they have lidars, they have radars. We put them on, and that allows the truck to perceive the world 360 degree at any given point of time. Then we put in a compute and two safety computes. Those are the brains and kind of the links to the truck platform, right? So basically you have the sensors that perceive the world, the compute that basically calculates the picture of the world, takes everything that's around it into account and says, this is how I have to drive. This is the speed. This is how I have to slot in from a merge and everything. And then you have the safety compute and kind of the link to the truck that basically says actuation. This is what you need to do from a braking, steering, throttling perspective. Right? So that's what you put on to basically turn a truck from a stock truck into an autonomous truck. And of course, that compute includes all the software, right? In addition, what you have is always remote support. We actually have a 24/7 operations center in Lancaster, where basically somebody monitors all the trucks that are on the road, right? Think about it like a dispatch center. So somebody needs to say, this is the route, this is the load that you're hauling, this is where you're going, this is the weight and everything. So that's happening in the dispatch center. Not much different from what any other carrier or the JB Hunt themselves would do today, right? So this is how you basically get an autonomous truck. Now to your second question, is this coming from the manufacturer line? Is this coming like kind of as an aftermarket? Really, the vision for this is to absolutely have those autonomous trucks come from serious production manufacturing line. Right? That is, I think, what we are all working towards with the OEMs. But the reality is, it's not yet there. And those trucks are not yet ready to be mass produced. That will happen over the next couple of years, but it's just not there yet. So we work with what is called an upfitter, where basically we say we take the stock truck, turn it into an autonomous truck that I have explained, and they are doing most of the work for that. Just important to mention, an upfitter, right? This is a process that really happens today in a lot of settings, right? Like think about dump trucks or think about putting any additional technology onto a truck. It's a very common process. 50% of all trucks in the US actually go through some kind of upfitting process. So we work with some of the most reputable in the country, and they basically execute that.
Yeah, a good parallel to draw there. And as you put to early days, right? Still a lot that you're learning from it. You've put a lot of miles on the system here in a really interesting application. So I'm interested in what your view is on where we're at with autonomous driving. Where are we at on the road, and how close do you think we are to having this available on the market?
Yeah, so good point. We have driven actually over 3 million autonomous safe miles. So this is a lot of validation that we already have for the system. Most of those miles really in a commercial setting, some of those development, but most of those commercial. So it's not only getting feedback from the system, but also getting feedback from customers. What they think, how do they perceive the metrics? How can they learn from everything we do? So where are we? You always have to differentiate between the use case and the ODD, or what is called operational design domain. For example, there's private road settings and there's public road settings, right? What we do with JB Hunt is obviously a public road setting. There is still work to be done until it's fully without a driver. And the work is determined by what it's called the safety case. Safety case is, in really the simplest kind of description is, it's a statistical argument that you have done all the analysis based on simulation, based on on-road data, based on scenario databases that it took into account to say this system and this truck is as safe or safer than the average human truck driver, right? That is the bar that we all have to hit. And making that safety case takes a lot of validation, takes time, and really takes very thorough doing to make sure, we have checked all the boxes. So we're currently in the process, and we will launch without a driver when it's safe to do so, right? So we don't like to talk about some very specific timelines. It's really when it's safe to do so. But it's not far away, so let me just tell you that. Now, on a private road setting, where, of course, you have different types of actors, less actors, different speed limits, we actually already operate driverless today. We have actually done that since earlier this year. We have also publicly talked about this. So there we have already done the safety case, all that evaluation. We have already checked all the boxes. And it is the perfect stepping stone for then doing it the same way for over-the-road trucking, right? Because we already have gone through the process, understand, where do we have to improve, which levers do we have to pull. And so the next step will really be applying all the learnings from the private road to the public road safety case.
Yeah, and a really interesting point there on the safety case. And even so, from my end and conversations that I have with fleets and others in the market, it almost seems as well that providers such as yourself, the bar has to be even higher in a safety score than maybe even we'd give a professional driver or a human. There's this human element that we trust other people, right? But it seems to me that we hold these systems at an even higher standard, right? You gotta clear a higher bar than a human fallibility would let us clear, right? So interesting to see how this will roll out and how that trust builds and the learnings play into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, you said you have to set yourself a bar, right? And the bar is, of course, being as safe, but in reality, it will be safer, right? Because in reality, first of all, you cannot hit that bar exactly, right? You will actually overachieve it. But then think about any improvement that you do, it's immediately rolled out to the entire fleet, right? It's not just one driver, one truck improved, but it's like hundreds, thousands of trucks that improved. Right? And so you constantly increase the level of sophistication of the system, of reliability, and ultimately safety of the system. So absolutely, the goal is really to reduce accidents, to reduce fatalities. We all know the statistics, right? 40,000 accidents, 4,000 to 5,000 fatalities every year. So we really want to reduce that and make roadways safer for everyone.
Safety, definitely the name of the game there. Michael, thanks so much for taking the time. I look forward to learning more as this rolls out for wider market availability here down the line. I'm sure I'll talk to you again very soon.
Perfect. Thank you so much.